This is Kim Meyer, host of Choose to Rise. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast on whatever day it is that you were tuning in. I'm your host, Jenna. I'm a military spouse of 10 years, a mom, a registered and certified dental assistant, and a certified phlebotomist. Again, I just want to say thank you for taking me with you wherever you are and being here with me. If you find that anything in today's episode resonates with you, or if you know of someone else who needs to hear this episode, please share it. And as always, I appreciate any and all feedback. So if you would like to leave me some feedback, please feel free to email me at confessionsofaMilspouse@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram at confessionsofamilspouse or at publichousemedia.org. Wow, my last episode of 2020. Whew, what a year it has been. And while 2020 seems like it has just drug on forever, it also seems like just yesterday we were being told that we needed to wear masks everywhere we go and that things were shutting down for weeks at a time. And basically that our entire lives were hanging in the balance, waiting on someone else's decision. I mean, what a weird time it's been. I really feel like this is what everyone expected Y2K to be, but it clearly wasn't. It's been a wild year, and I've done a lot of reflecting this year in my personal life, with my podcast, everything really, like I'm sure most people have. And there's definitely some changes that are coming to the podcast in 2021, but changes that I think you will love. But for now, I want to talk about a very merry COVID Christmas. You might be wondering what I mean when I say a very merry COVID Christmas, and there's honestly a few things I'm referring to, but the main one that sticks out in my mind is how normal families or civilian families are experiencing what military families experience almost all the time. And I don't mean that to sound harsh or inconsiderate, but I think it's really a good wake-up call and reality check for those who aren't military families. And when I say that, this is what I mean. I'm talking about how military families spend many, many holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, etc., without specific loved ones, and COVID has basically done the same thing to every other family in the world. And I know everyone is so divided and so split on what's best to do and how to keep everyone safe. So I understand, maybe you aren't planning on letting COVID ruin your Christmas or prevent you from seeing loved ones. But if you are a person that doesn't want to take any chances and are planning on spending Christmas without your loved ones, then you'll begin to understand what military families experience. Now, I say begin to understand because that's really what I mean. Military families experience this all the time, for months at a time. Hopefully, soon, COVID will be a distant memory in our minds, and we won't have to spend holidays and birthdays and everything else alone. But right now, that's definitely not the case. Right now, they're urging us to spend those holidays separate. COVID cases are on the rise again, and to try to help stop the spread of the virus, they're urging people to not spend holidays together, and that's very much like the military when deployments or trainings or God knows what else happens. The next thing is that, quote unquote, we, as in civilians, have in common with the military right now is that we both have people telling us what to do. You probably haven't ever thought of it like that before now, but I certainly have. And like any job, I'm sure you can imagine that military members are told they have to do certain things that they don't necessarily agree with, but they basically have no choice in the matter. And this is similarly the same situation right now. We have a little more leeway than the military members do, for sure. with this whole COVID situation, but it's still a very, very similar situation. You know, the government is telling us that we can't spend holidays together. We have to wear masks. The vaccination is going to be mandatory, and on and on and on. And do we agree with all of those things that the government is telling us? Absolutely not. Some do, some don't. And honestly, that's not a topic that I'm going to discuss right now, because whether we agree with it or not, it's what the government is recommending and what they think we should be following. And that is exactly how things go in the military. They tell our military members what they need to do, and whether or not the military member agrees, they have to do it. They have no choice in the matter. And in my own opinion, I think that would be one of the hardest things to do. I understand no job is ever perfect, but knowing that I wasn't really able to have an opinion in any matter would be something that would be really, really hard for me to deal with. And you can definitely ask my current boss about that. There are definitely things that I don't agree with at my job, but I also know that I can voice my opinion about it, and my opinion is going to be heard. Whether or not that opinion is taken into consideration is a completely different story. But at least I know my voice will be heard, and when you hear something, I feel like it's a little bit harder to not even consider it. However, being an active duty military member and being told, you know, something's going to be done a certain way, and if you voice your opinion, it's basically a waste of air, that would be really hard to deal with. And that's really what I feel like this whole COVID situation is very similar to. Sure, you know, we can voice our opinions, and everyone is entitled to that, but is voicing our opinion really going to do anything? I feel like who really even knows at this point? Now, I know a lot of people expected that after November 4th, this whole thing would go away, but it obviously hasn't. And so now I question, you know, what is the end all? Is the vaccine? Is it the vaccine? Is it cases going down? But if they go down, will they rise again? There's just so many questions that I don't have answers to. What I do know, though, is that I think everyone is getting tired of being told what to do, because on top of the government telling us and active duty members what to do, the military members also have the military telling them what to do. So that's kind of a double whammy for them, I feel like. And one thing I want you to think about this Christmas, if you're not spending it with your family, is what that feels like. And I'm sure you're thinking, yeah, it sucks, whatever. But no, really. I want you to sit there and think about it. Then I want you to think about it again and again. And then I want you to think about every military family who does this all the time, over and over and over again. And that is unfortunately a glimpse into military life. And even though part of me wants to say, you know, that I am glad that people are finally getting a taste of what it's like being a military family, the other part of me would never wish that upon anyone. To be 100% honest, it is hard, lonely, and it is a sucky life sometimes. And I wouldn't ever want anyone to feel that way by choice. Now, I understand that yes, we as military families do choose to do that, but we also understand that we choose to do that because this is how our spouse provides a life for us. That is our income. So I think it makes it a little easier of a pill to swallow, because while yes, our life is run by the military, we also get paid for it. You know, so much money. Totally kidding. While it may seem like a backwards way of thinking it when I say it out loud, I guess it's honestly the only way I've been able to justify to myself that that's what makes it worth it. The next thing I want to talk about is the vaccine. Oh, yes, the vaccine. And I know it's a very controversial topic. And I'm not going to really put my 2 cents in. I just want to bring awareness. And let me just tell you, the vaccine is definitely on the forefront of my mind, being a healthcare worker, and especially a healthcare worker in a place that has a very high possibility of contracting the virus. I think about the vaccine frequently. I think about whether or not I should get it, whether or not my family should get it. And I think about it. And that's about all I am going to say. But where I'm going with this is the awareness, because I am not sure if you've heard or not. I know some people have, but the military is basically the testing ground for vaccines. You probably are listening to this and thinking that that's funny, but it's actually really true. It's been said before that some of the first vaccines, COVID vaccines, will be given to military members. I fully believe that will be the case. Like, there is literally no doubt in my mind that it will happen. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. And if we're being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already gotten the vaccine. And let me just explain why. So recently, my husband came home from work and he said they got their quote unquote flu shot for the season. First of all, it's kind of early for the military members to get their flu shot, which is a crazy thing to say, but they're usually some of the last ones to get their flu shots. And I know last year it was really, really late into flu season. But secondly, and the thing that tipped me off the most was that he said they got a card with like a lot or a batch number or serial number or some kind of number, identification number on it. And they were told they had to keep that card. And then they had to wait at the office for 15 minutes to see of any allergic reactions. Now, I know with normal vaccines and normal people, they have people do that. You know, they tell you, okay, wait around for 15 minutes. Let's just make sure, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're not talking about normal people here. We're talking about the military. And my husband has been in for 15 years. And he said to me he's never once been handed a card or had to wait for any type of possible allergic reaction. And to me, it just seems fishy. Now, I could totally be off the mark here. I have no idea. But then again, it's the military, and nothing seems to surprise me or anyone else ever. And since we're on the topic of the military and how nothing surprises me, I wanted to bring to light something that happened recently. So military members obviously get paid by the government. We have many different banking options, obviously all the ones that are available to everyday normal people. But we also have some that are only available to military members and their families. And one of the most common banking options is a bank called Navy Federal Credit Union. And a lot of military members bank there because it's a good bank. Well, the pay schedule for the military is the 1st and the 15th of every month. However, with Navy Federal, active duty members that are enrolled in direct deposit, which I think is everybody now because we live in 2020. But anyway, usually get paid early. So like if the 15th is on a Monday, they usually get paid the Friday before. It's really glorious, actually. However, this past Friday, if you went to sign into your Navy Federal account on the app, there was a notification saying that due to the budget extension and basically not receiving funds from the government, military members would not be paid early. And then I heard, now obviously this is all hearsay, but it came from Facebook, so it had to be true. I also heard it could be past the 15th when people get paid. I'm sorry, what? Now, here's the kicker to that. First and foremost, the Marine Corps has a different treasury than all the other branches. So the Marine Corps still got paid on time, but the other branches did not. So I am very thankful for that. And I know that seems greedy, but when that's what you depend on, it sucks when it doesn't come on time. Not to mention like right before Christmas in 2020 with COVID going on. Okay. Now, the topic of conversation all the time is, well, people should have budgeted better. But even if you do budget, sometimes you have to live paycheck to paycheck as a military family because, you know, we get paid so much. But honestly, I look at it no differently than a regular job. You know, if you work a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 job, you expect to get paid, let's say, every 2 weeks or whenever your pay schedule is. And imagine if all of a sudden one week they were like, oh, well, you're going to have to wait until the following week to get paid. I think anyone would be pretty shocked and upset that that happened. Not to mention, unfortunately, this isn't the first time this has happened to military members. And I know it's really hard to believe. Trust me. Now, I want to keep this episode kind of short and sweet, but I also did want to put these things into perspective. One last thing that I want to share with you is my opinion on the good of all of this. And you might be wondering how the heck any of this could be good. But let me just tell you. Due to certain circumstances, after the new year, my husband will actually be quote-unquote quarantined during Christmas. It's not an actual quarantine. It's called restriction of movement. But basically, this means that before and after Christmas, he'll only be able to leave the house for essential needs. Now, why do I think that's a good thing? Because that means for the entire time that our daughter is off of school and that I am off of work, we're able to spend all of that time together. And for those of you who don't know, military families getting to spend that long of a time together, especially around a holiday, is super, super unheard of. So I personally am so blessed that this has happened because who knows what things would look like if this wasn't the case. I want to thank you all for continuing to support me in this podcast throughout this crazy year. I hope that you all have a fantastic rest of your year. I can't even believe I'm saying that because it seems so surreal. And I truly hope that 2021 treats you better than 2020 has. I don't think anybody honestly knows what to expect out of 2021, but I'd like to think it can't be anywhere near as crazy as 2020, but you just never know. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to each and every one of my listeners. And again, thank you for supporting me throughout this entire 2020 crazy COVID year.